Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Charlotte Rooney, the founder of A Half Managed Mind. Charlotte brings a remarkable blend of experience from leading humanitarian aid in war zones, consulting at McKinsey, and scaling a youth employment startup with 300% growth. Based in London, A Half Managed Mind, founded in 2021, is redefining leadership for women, helping them excel without burnout from tailored coaching and training. We'll be exploring her founding story, how her business empowers women leaders, and her vision for scaling this mission-driven venture. So let's dive right in. Charlotte, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure having you on the show. So really would love to start at the top for our listeners with you, Charlotte. So take us back to the beginning if you can. What specific problem in the leadership landscape really inspired you to start A Half Managed Mind?
So, there are obviously plenty of problems in the leadership landscape which could be helped by having somebody dedicating themselves to trying to solve them. But the thing that really inspired me to finally take the plunge and actually start a business was when I was working in the startup, the youth employment startup that you mentioned. We were scaling really rapidly. We went from 3 employees to nearly 100 in less than 3 years, and I hired most of them personally. So I was screening for really smart, really motivated, really driven people and finding them, absolutely. But what I started to see was that very quickly they were reaching a point where they were not enjoying the work that they were doing, even though it was something that was really deeply mission driven for them. And it was because they didn't have the right environment around them. They didn't have the right training and support to enable them to be truly successful as they moved from being the person who did everything themselves to then having to manage other people to do it to support the rapidly scaling growth. And this was a problem that I had seen before when I was a consultant. It was a problem that I'd seen when I was a humanitarian aid worker. It was a problem that actually led me to burnout as well earlier in my career. And it was a sort of light bulb moment where I was like, this problem is universal. It's not one person, it's not one sector, it's not even one type of work. And it's got a very simple solution. And I want to put those two things together.
Love it. I love it. So with that, I would definitely love to understand a bit more of the evolution, right, of A Half Managed Mind so far. So as far as the offerings for A Half Managed Mind, Charlotte, talk about what's evolved from the services that you're providing to who you're serving. How's that continuously evolved from when you started to now?
Sure. I think, like many of us who stepped into entrepreneurship, and I think particularly a lot of us who got into coaching and mentoring, we anticipated that because the problem that we're trying to solve feels so urgent to us, that if we stepped out there and said, "Hey, I can help," we would suddenly be inundated with people who are like, "Yes, please, I want your help." And so I walked into the market with this idea that if I told people, I can show you how to avoid burning out, I can show you how to avoid spending 6 months off work and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of earnings and medical costs and future opportunities, I figured that would be enough. And people would be like, yes, please show me how that works.
Right.
So that was my first offering. And while some people did notice and some people did see it and some people were keen, it wasn't as compelling as I anticipated that it was. And so kind of my first evolution was to really understand what is it that makes an offer actually compelling to people? What is it that connects with what they truly desire and also motivates them to say, I want that and I'm going to take action to get it right now? So I started talking about the problem in a different way. I still help people avoid burnout. That's always what learning to enjoy your job is going to help you do. But I don't typically talk about it in that kind of fear mongering way of if you don't change this, if you don't do this, if you don't take action, you're going to end up in this terrible place. Because for a lot of people, that's not very motivating. And even if you do see yourself in it, it makes you afraid. And when you're afraid, you don't feel strong and motivated to go and do something about it. You feel like hiding behind the couch with a bunch of Ben and Jerry's. So I've changed the way I talk about what I do. And I've also changed slightly, I've narrowed in on who it is that I really help. And so rather than offering blanket for anybody who is in a leadership position and feels like they might be burning out, I now narrow down in on women who are directors and VPs who are leading a team of at least 3 people and who are finding that they cannot engage, motivate, and direct that team in the way that they need to, that allows them to be leaders. And that because of all of that, they are not enjoying their work and they are not feeling fulfilled. And when I talk about it in that way, it's just much more positive when you think about the idea that you could then be the type of leader that you always wished you had, the one who everybody is dying to work for because you are so good at helping people achieve what they want to achieve, which also makes you the best leader in your company. Let's be honest.
I absolutely love that. And I love asking that question because it's incredible to hear the thought process, right? Being a founder, and again, having so many founders on the show, everyone kind of goes through different experiences, but it really boils down to you have to get in, you have to try something, feel it out, figure it out, and then say, okay, here is where my specialty lies. And I think that's the beauty in that answer there. So I truly appreciate you walking us through that. With that being said, definitely would love to get into the nuts and bolts, especially for our listeners who could end up coming and working with you after the episode airs, Charlotte. So walk us through really how a half managed mind is generating revenue today. So the core offer, obviously we have an understanding now. You love working with the women who are directors and VPs, have that team of 3 or more, having that kind of burnout, having a hard time leading. What's that real core offer? I know you have the tailored coaching, group training, the peak leadership model. Walk us through that customer journey.
Yeah, so I have 2 quite distinct ways of working with people. I work privately with individual people who want a very personalized version of the peak leadership model to take them from where they are to where they need to be. And the journey for someone like that, typically, she's going to find me through one of 2 ways, really. It's either going to be a referral. So she knows someone who knows me, or she knows someone who's worked with me, or she's going to come to me through LinkedIn and the monthly free trainings that I do on LinkedIn. So we're going to be connected in some way. I'm going to invite her to one of those. She's going to experience working with me. And I always offer for anyone who has come to one of those, maybe about time management or delegation or motivation, if you want to take this further, if you want me to help you personalize this for you, you get in touch and I will give you my time. And that's usually the way the private clients come to me. The other offer that I have, which I love as well, but is a slightly longer lead time, is I also partner with corporates and who have an awareness that there is a potentially more systemic, potentially a larger gap in their organization, and that they're not seeing the retention, the engagement, the advancement that they want to see in their women leaders. And they're not getting the good feedback from them that they really feel supported and enabled to do their best work. And so then I will work with, usually it either starts right at the top. It comes in through the last one that I did this week. I came through the chairman of the board, who then put me in touch with the head of the women's ERG. Or it might come through the ERG itself, or it might come through L&D. And then I will work with them to make a really bespoke group program that works through with the same frameworks that I have, but completely tailored to the specific culture and environment of that organization. And then we'll start with a group of women, typically around 8 to 12. And what I love about that is we go through the 6-month journey, but not only with me, these women are all building like a network with themselves, and they are getting used to supporting each other and seeing all of the different challenges that everybody has in the organization. And it creates a mini support network that long surpasses the 6 months that I work with them, and allows them to keep supporting each other in their careers going forwards. So those are the 2 key ways that I generate revenue. I also do things like one-off workshops and conferences and all of those things on the side, which are great fun, but I wouldn't call them my core offer.
I love it. With that, you mentioned a bit at the beginning there, Charlotte, a bit of the acquisition side. So we'd definitely love to dig into that a bit more, see what's really working best for you. So I know that you're getting a lot of referrals in from your past successes, which is a big one for many founders. And then also mentioned that you're doing a lot on LinkedIn, free trainings. What else are you doing right now that's working well for that consistent client acquisition on your front, whether it is more paid ads or social media, organic? Walk us through that for us.
Yeah, I am currently not doing any paid ads on any platform. I have done previously, I've worked on with Meta and Google in the past, but I have put those on the back burner at the moment. I'm really focusing in on organic client acquisition, largely through content and free trainings on LinkedIn, and then leaning into networking. So whether that's online networking or I'm loving in-person networking again now that it's back on the table. I used to hate it prior to the pandemic. Networking was my idea of hell. I used to have to bargain with myself to get myself even walk through the door.
Yeah.
And now I'm going multiple times a week to networking events in London and really loving the connections that I can make in that way. Because I guess it all boils down to the referral again. It's just there are more people who then know who I am and what I offer and who can introduce me to a person who might introduce me to a person. But it just feels so much more fun to me than paying a lot of money to Meta to put an image in front of someone who then might click on something, who then might get to a web page, who then might come or might pop up a video. Or that feels so impersonal. Whereas doing the networking, whether it's online or in person, it's all about the connection. And I think that's really the basis of what makes my business work. It's connecting with people and being able to then see how I might fit in their journey to where they want to be.
I love it. I love it. So you definitely, you mentioned something there that I would love to go a bit deeper on, especially for our listeners who may be having similar challenges as you. Talk to us a bit about that paid ad side of things. I know that you were doing some before. What was the main thing that stuck out to you as to why you don't want to do it right now? And how are you approaching the idea of scaling and that continued scalability with the current model that you're doing now on the predictability side of lead gen? How does that play out in your mind?
Yeah. I guess there's two parts to that question. What I found when I was running ads is that with some care and attention and some tweaking at the beginning, it was fairly easy to get to a perfectly acceptable cost per lead. Somebody clicking on my ad, going through to my landing page, downloading a freebie, signing up for a webinar, something like that. Getting their email address was relatively easy. What I found wasn't so easy was taking that person from the initial piece where they have clicked on something free and actually getting them into someone who is truly engaging with my business. So a lot of people would say sign up for the webinar but not come, or they would sign up to download a PDF that I might have and they might never open the email that sent it to them.
Yeah.
So it felt, on the one hand, the metrics looked really good. It was like my cost per lead was less than a couple of quid,
Right.
but it actually wasn't leading to conversions. So all I was doing really was buying an email where my emails were going into their spam folder. So I thought, what I really need to do to make that worth it for my business is I need to crack the second part of that. The getting people to really truly engage with what I'm trying to say and finding the topics that resonate with them, that truly serve them. And once I've got that, then it makes sense to ramp up how many people are coming into the top of the funnel. But if you're putting people into the top of the funnel and then they're all stagnating, you're not paying for anything that you really need as a founder. And so I think that's why it's on hold for the moment,
Yeah.
because I'm finding that at my current stage, I can get enough people to come to my free events on LinkedIn through using the invite function from their events, through sending people a DM who I've been talking to and saying, hey, I'm going to be doing this thing, telling the people that I meet at networking events to share
Right.
with their friends. That brings enough people in for me to be able to do that testing phase of, am I really providing the value at this stage that somebody needs to make them want to continue the journey with me, for them to see this is the person who's going to help me reach the heights that I want to reach. So that's where I'm at the moment. In terms of scalability, that is, for me currently, that's a future problem. I'm not at the stage, I've got capacity where I'm at the moment. So the actual scaling part, I think, is probably a next year problem. But I am anticipating that it is likely that paid traffic is going to form part of that once I get this second part of someone signs up, they, receive some form of value from me, whether that continues to be short trainings or some other thing that I can offer to help them understand how I can help. And then that moves into a call or an immediate purchase, but I'm still refining that piece and I'm getting enough traffic through my organic without needing to pay for extra traffic right now.
Love it. I love it. I think that just opens up so much more for, especially for our listeners who are having similar issues or are feeling kind of the same ways of really nail it down, nail the process down, really find that high quality that you're providing for your clients, and then you can build and scale on that. Incredible on that front. What does it look like, Charlotte, right now for you on a sales process wise? Do you have sales team, marketing team, anyone behind you, or is this just the Charlotte show right now as a solopreneur? What does that look like?
So I was working with a sales development representative until quite recently, but I have scaled that back down again. I ran an experiment for the last 6 months to see whether or not outsourcing that process, particularly around that organic LinkedIn outreach process, to see whether outsourcing that really helped me to scale. And I found that it wasn't the right thing for me to do at the moment. I think that there is, at this point in my business, I think there is still an energetic connection that comes from someone speaking to me rather than someone speaking to someone on my behalf. That is important for the conversion rate that I have. Again, obviously, that's not a sustainable, scalable strategy if it's like it's
Right.
always got to be you. But I think there is a learning curve between taking that from being something that I hold to handing it over to someone else. I just tried it. We did improve,
Yeah.
but by the end of my 6 months, I still didn't feel like the ROI was there for me. So sales team is currently me, myself, and I, but in future that is likely to grow.
Okay. With that being said, then I would love to really dive into your mind a bit, right? Talk to us about what you think about, especially with wearing so many hats, right? You're trying different things. You've tried the SDR, wasn't really the best fit. So you're sitting in that role, you're doing the marketing, you're doing all the speaking events. How are you juggling that as far as bottleneck wise? What do you think is the big bottleneck for you right now to that growth and providing that quality, whether it is consistent lead generation or converting those leads into clients or their fulfillment side, being a solopreneur? What are you thinking about on that front?
I think if I were to identify what I think is the bottleneck at the moment,
Mm.
is it's really refining how I use any strategy that I have, whether it is the speaking, whether it is the organic, whether it is networking in person, how I use that to form that deep personal connection with someone, which allows me to really understand what it is that they need and then be able to craft a message which would motivate them to want to take the next step. And ideally, of course, that next step would be coming to work with me, but sometimes that next step might be something else. And I try to think about it as well as at the moment, it's understanding the art of getting people to take that next step and the right next step. Because there will be plenty of people that I talk to. It's happened to me quite recently, actually, where I was talking to someone on a sales call, and it was apparent really quite quickly that I'm not the right person to help her. The issue that she has is something that is, I could do it, but there are plenty of people who specialize who would serve her much better. And that's okay. Then the position needs to be okay, how do I motivate her to take that next step? Because she's taken a step, and that step was to get on a call with me, but I'm not the right person to help her. And I still want her to be able to reach, the goal that she has. So then it's about, okay, if I can then still motivate you to take that next step, to
Mm.
accept the referral that I'm going to give you, or to go and look for somebody else, then that's still a win for me. So that's where I think that's the bottleneck at the moment. It's getting that to a point where it's smooth and easy and natural and works every time. And I think that process can take a long time to get right. And I think I certainly, when I started my business, underestimated how difficult that was going to be for me to get working seamlessly and smoothly to the point where it could be safely, say, automated or delegated to someone else.
Which makes sense, but that's the beautiful thing there is that's the focus and the key, and knowing that transition period for your clients is such a factor to continuously being able to again scale and grow and put your business in a position to where there is a bit more automation involved there and you don't have to wear so many hats. With that being said there, Charlotte, what does the future look like for you the rest of 2025? What are you fully focused on as far as top priorities for continuing to grow a half managed mind, whether you have specific revenue targets or impact goals or performance goals? Walk us through the rest of this year going into next year for you.
Yeah. So my goal at the moment that I'm working towards is I would love to be at the point of $100,000 in 12 months trailing revenue. That's the next benchmark that I'm going for. I made half of that last year. It's quite a big step up to expect it this one, but if you don't have ambitious goals, you'll never make them. And so what I'm focusing on, as I say, what I'm really focusing on at the moment is getting that strategy right for how do I find and connect with the right people who I can help. In terms of numbers, I'm focusing on growing that private practice as well. I would like to double or triple the number of people who I am serving at the moment in my private practice. I would also absolutely love to find another 2 corporate partners, which would really then help me also to reach my goals of serving at least 100 women every year with the programs that I have.
I love it. With that right there, I want to take us into the lightning round. It's been incredible being to hear your journey so far, Charlotte. And clear as day, with the passion that you are going to crush those goals and be able to continue to do incredible things. So I would just love to know, as far as a tool or a resource goes, Charlotte, what's been a game changer for Half Managed Mind this far?
The real game changer for me has been doubling down on the fact that I need to be managing my own mind to make this business work.
Yeah.
I think anyone who is a solopreneur will know that you are your own worst enemy and you are your own best ally.
Mm.
And when I leave my brain unattended, it quite quickly will look at, say, a lower income month than I had hoped for and revert to type and say, you know what, you should just go back and get a job. That would be an easier way of making money because it knows how to make money in a job. But that's a sign to me that I'm not managing my mind. And the biggest tool that has made the biggest difference for me has been finding a coach who can support me. I actually managed to find a whole community of coaches who can support me moving forward. And that is the thing that makes the biggest difference. Because when I am in a positive mindset, when I am looking at solving problems within my business rather than trying to solve them outside by, say, packing it all in and deciding to go back and get a job because that was an easier way of making money, then I am better at solving problems in my business when I'm looking at it that way. So I think that's the thing that's made the biggest difference for me.
Love it. And then just to wrap up the show here, Charlotte, would love to hear a piece of advice from you for our listeners, other founders and entrepreneurs tuning in right now, hearing your journey, and I'm sure many are inspired by it. What can you leave for them before we wrap up the show?
Oh, it's a good one. Keep moving forwards. This only ends when you give up. And there's no need to do that.
I love it. Short and sweet and beautiful. I love that. With that right there, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Charlotte, truly can't thank you enough coming on the show, sharing your incredible journey this far and your insights. As I mentioned earlier, it's clear as day with the passion that you have and the drive. You're going to do some incredible things in this space, and I can't wait to keep up with your journey, have you back on the show, maybe in 6 months to a year, and get some good updates from everything that you've been able to achieve and accomplish. So again, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know so many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also check out A Half Managed Mind at halfmanagedmind.com for their free 360 leadership assessment. And follow Charlotte on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Charlotte Rooney. For more resources and insights, visit closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.